Putin and Trump versus the New World Order, the final battle. We reside in exciting times. The unknown that lays ahead for everybody is both exhilarating and scary. Thrilling in the long term, but rather terrifying in the short term. All empires eventually pass away, and we're in the terminal phase of the New World Order that will not recuperate from the Russian roulette video game it has actually been playing, for Vladimir Putin handed it a crammed gun as well as it pulled the trigger. The last few weeks put every little thing in position for the previous battle. There are so many various truths and also occasions, left and to right, and I will attempt to do my ideal to continue to be systematic in this painful reveal. Bear with me, I've had a hard time for 3 weeks with this short article because of the insane quantity of additional details that daily provides. It might have been an incorrect time to quit smoking, however, I appreciate a good obstacle. Dropping bucks, a little context is required. The New World Order idea is merely the desire of a handful of global lenders that want to financially as well as politically rule the entire planet as one happy family members. It began in 1773, and also if it experienced vital changes for many years, but the principle and also objective have not altered a speck. However, for them, global financial institutions that have been robbery the planet with the US buck, considering that 1944 are now threatened by devaluation, as their printing machine has actually been rotating for years to cover their absurd spendings to maintain oil as well as resource battles that they've all eventually lost. To prevent this future runaway inflation, they produced an infection attack on 4 nations, China, Iran, Italy, and also now the United States, to spread panic in the populace, with the precious aid of their ignominious media. Despite the fact that this coronavirus isn't various from any brand new viruses that assault humans every year, the media scare pushed individuals to separate themselves through worry and also terror willingly. Some lost their jobs, companies are going bankrupt, the panic produced a stock market collision that emptied wallets and also dried out assets, leading to a few trillion online bucks off the market to release stress of the money. Up until now, so good, however, every little thing else went wrong in this desperate and utmost bonsai. The top virologist on the planet confirmed that chloroquine was being utilized by the Chinese with amazing outcomes to heal individuals. He enhanced his magic potion by adding a pneumonic antibacterial called azithromycin, as well as conserved every person of his first 1,000 instances, yet one. Donald Trump instantly imposed the same treatment with a battle against his own Federal Drug Administration, got and also possessed by the deep state. This required all medias to discuss Dr. Didier Raoul's miracle elixir, authorizing the fatality warrant on our self-confidence in all Western federal governments, their clinical agencies, the World Health Organization, and medias that were trying to ruin the remarkable doctor's reputation, while inventing unexpected, harmful side effects of a virtually inoffensive medicine that has actually been utilized for 60 years to deal with jungle fever. Not so far away in Germany, worldwide commended Dr. Wolfgang Waterg kept in mind that the engineered panic was completely pointless because this virus isn't any different than the others that impact us every year. This has been a remarkable triumph for Trump and also the basic populace on social media sites, who subjected together the pathological lies of the main communication channels of every New World Order country. De facto, the reliability of these puppet governments have vanished airborne. From the eye of the tornado, Italy will undoubtedly exit the EU right after the dilemma, which will activate a cause and effect running through every EU nations and NATO members. My close friends, globalism is dead as well as ready for cremation. Digging the void, international bankers could not see it coming in 1991 when they controlled 95% of the planet after the loss of the Soviet Union. It appeared that absolutely nothing could halt their supreme goal to complete their Orwellian desire, destroy a couple of countries between East, increase the size of Israel, and obtain the overall control over the globe oil market, the last item of their Xanadu problem that they've been dealing with for an entire century, starting with the Balfour Statement in 1917. When Vladimir Putin obtained charge of Russia, there was no indication that he would certainly do far better than the intoxicated he had replaced. An ex-KGB policeman felt like an option more driven by nostalgia rather than ideology. However, Putin had a lot more assets choosing him than very first satisfied the eyes: nationalism, humanism, a feeling of justice, clever ploy, a wizard financial expert friend named Sergei Glaziev whom openly hated the New World Order. However, above all, he personified the reincarnation of the long-shed Russian belief of overall political and also cost-effective self-reliance. After a couple of years invested at draining pipes, the Russian swamp from the oligarchs and mafiosos that his stumbling predecessor had left in his trail of vacant containers, Vlad rolled his sleeves and got to work. Because his opponents had been looting the earth for 250 years through colonization ensured by an armed forces dominance, Vlad understood that he needed to start by developing an unyielding armed forces device as well as he did. He thought of various kinds of hypersonic rockets that cannot be stopped, the very best defensive systems in the world, the very best digital jamming systems, as well as the very best planes. Then, to make certain that a nuclear war would not be an alternative, he developed stuff which problems are made from, such as the Sarmat, the Poseidon as well as the Avangard, all unstoppable as well as able to damage any country in a matter of a few hours. Russian President Vladimir Putin, Center, gestures while talking during an annual conference with top military officials in the National Defense Control Center in Moscow, December 24, 2019. Putin said that Russia is the only nation on the planet that has hypersonic weapons, although its armed forces costs as a portion of the U.S. Army budget plan. Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu, left, and also Chief of General Staff of Russia Valery Gerasimov, right, participate in the meeting. With a brand new and unequaled arsenal, he could proceed to beat any NATO pressure or any one of its proxies, as he did beginning in September 2015 in Syria. He showed to every country that self-reliance from the NWO financial system was now a matter of selection. Putin not only won the Syrian battle, but he won the assistance of lots of New World Order nations that all of a suddenly changed sides upon understanding how invincible Russia had ended up being. On a polite level, it likewise obtained magnificent China by its side, and after that took care of to shield independent oil producers such as Venezuela and Iran. At the same time, leaders like Erdogan of Turkey and Mohammed bin Salman of Saudi Arabia decided to agree to Russia, who isn't holding the most effective online poker hand, but the whole deck of cards. I was finishing in the verdict that Putin currently controls the almighty oil market, the inevitable power source that oils economic situations and militaries, while the banksters NATO can watch, without any ways to obtain it back. With the extraordinary results that Putin has been getting in the last 5 years, the New World Order unexpectedly appears like a house of cards ready to fall apart. The empire of banks has been terminally ill for 5 years, however, it's now on morphine, barely understanding what's going on. Tragedy and also hope. Considering that there is no hope in beginning WW3 which is lost beforehand, the last bonsai appeared of the bushes in the form of an infection as well as the occurring media development of a fake pandemic. The primary emphasis was to avoid disastrous runaway inflation of the whopping mass of US dollar that no person desires anymore, to have time to implement their online world cryptocurrency as if the constantly stopping working bankers still have any type of authenticity to maintain regulating our cash materials. It seemed initially that the strategy could work. That's when Vlad took out his revolver to begin the Russian roulette game and bankers blew their minds out upon the pressure on the trigger. He called a conference with OPEP and killed the rate of oil by declining to lower Russia's production, taking the barrel to under $30. Without any afterthought as well as indeed also much less sorrow, Vlad killed the pricey Western oil production. All the dollars that had actually been obtained of the market needed to be re-injected by the Fed as well as various other reserve banks to stay clear of a downslide and also the final calamity. By now, our dear bankers are out of remedies. In the meantime, Trump also jabbed at the tie-wearing mobsters. While medias avoided the corona-killing chloroquine topic, an old tablet developed to heal malaria, Trump imposed to the FDA the use of this life-saving medication on the United States contaminated patients. Media did not have any choice yet to begin speaking about it, which sparked a domino effect. Big pharma CEOs were discharged since they had simply shed the vaccine contract. Countries like Canada looked like genocidal fools for not using the cheap as well as inoffensive drug. At the same time, a most shocking criminal act by a government was exposed in full light. The Macron federal government had proclaimed in January 2020 that chloroquine was hazardous and had restrained its use, simply a couple of weeks before the burst of the phony pandemic. Russian roulette is a popular game in Western federal governments these days around. On Saturday, March 28, Russia revealed its corona-killing brew, based on Dr. Raoul's magic potion. Yet another Cossack impact, this time to the large pharma jugular blood vessel. While the majority of Western nations currently have to implement the excellent physician's therapy, or encounter the slap of a Russian tablet about saving its citizen, Putin is in the life-saving service these days. In the recently of March, he sent 15 military airplanes full of doctors and supplies straight to North Italy after an aid airplane from China was blocked by the Czech Republic. We're about to discover that European nations fear that China or Russia finds the truth in the Lombardy region, where individuals are not dying from some corona pest, however most likely from a harmful mixed drink hybrid from 2 earlier vaccines for meningitis and also flu, that they were infused in different vaccination projects. The punchline: I stated previously that every day brings remarkable information. Well, on Sunday, March 29, the most sensational of them all dropped like a ton of blocks on social media. In essence, constrained sightseers discovered that Trump had taken control over the Federal Reserve, which is now taken care of by 2 agents of the Treasury of State. Of all the crazy information within the last month, this is by far the very best and most stunning. After 3 years in power, Trump has ultimately met his electoral guarantee of taking private banks out of the U.S. public affairs, ending a century of exploitation of the American people. He has placed the well-known BlackRock investment group to begin buying significant corporations for the Fed, suggesting that he's nationalizing chunks of the economy while avoiding the accident of the marketplace by implicating essential private financiers in the deal. This utmost daring step comes at a critical point in time, and also faces us with the awareness that Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump are joined and have taken humankind to the crossroads of the New World Order and flexibility. As I have usually specified previously, I believed that the world would deeply change between 2020 and also 2024 because these would undoubtedly be the last 4 years of these 2 heroes in the political power of their countries. The New World Order is dealing with the 2 most powerful countries in the world, and also this fake pandemic altered every little thing. It demonstrated how determined the banksters are, and also, if we do not want to end up with nuclear warheads flying in both directions, Putin and Trump have to stop them currently. Terminate the BIS, the World Bank, the IMF, the European Central Bank, the EU, NATO, now. Our world won't be ideal, yet it could get far better soon. Easter resurrection is coming. This may get scriptural. All realms ultimately die as well as we're in the terminal phase of the New World Order that will not recover from the Russian roulette video game it has actually been playing, for Vladimir Putin handed it a loaded weapon as well as it pulled the trigger. An ex-lover KGB police officer seemed like an option more driven by fond memories instead than belief, but Putin had many even more assets going for him than very first met the eyes: nationalism, humanism, a feeling of justice, cunning ruse, a brilliant financial expert close friend called Sergei Glaziev whom openly despised the New World Order. However, overall, he embodied the reincarnation of the lengthy shed Russian belief of overall political as well as cost-effective independence. Putin stated that Russia is the only nation in the world that has hypersonic weapons even though its military spending is a fraction of the U.S. Armed Forces budget. Putin not only won the Syrian war, yet he won the assistance of many New World Order nations that suddenly switched sides upon understanding just how invincible Russia had come to be. With the amazing results that Putin has been obtaining in the last 5 years, the New World Order all of a sudden looks like a home of cards regarding to crumble.